We used to believe that the earth was flat.
We used to believe smoking was good for you.
We used to believe climate action got in the way of economic growth. Fortunately, today we know better.
Today we know better.
Today, we know better.
Today we know that the opposite is true. We cannot have sustainable economic growth without climate action.
This is the single most important global issue we have to worry about.
In fact, by 2050, the world will have to feed and house nearly 10 billion people.
To lift billions out of poverty, provide good livelihoods for all, and avoid the worst impacts of climate change.
We must accelerate the transition to a low-carbon economy. Now, the good news is that climate action is happening across the world today.
The international community, the private sector and civil society are beginning to turn rhetoric into reality.
Developments like the Powering Past Coal Alliance and more companies setting science-based targets are examples of that shift.
There is bad news. And the bad news is that the transition is nowhere near fast enough to put us on a sustainable growth path.
The messages of the Sustainable Development Goals of the Paris Agreement have not fully sunk in yet with finance ministers around the world.
But if we go big,
the price will be big.
The world in 2050 could be an enormously attractive, clean place.
I hope that we are well on our way to having zero net emissions.
In some places, the future is already here.
In Uganda, a non-profit and private company have partnered to pilot the use of drones to help smallholder farmers improve practices and yields.
increased yields and decreased costs, thanks to a decline in pesticide use, led to an annual profit increase of more than 2,500 for the pilot farmers.
In India, Dalmia Bharat Cement uses new technologies and industrial waste products to make cement with the lowest carbon footprint in the world. And in doing this, they've increased the company's earnings by 70% and cut costs by 27%.
China's 10 cities, 1,000 vehicles program will electrify public fleets. In 2017 already, China had 300,000 electric buses and had become the world's largest market for private electric cars.
In Washington, D.C., DC Water is using green bonds to help tackle the mixing of sewage and rainwater overflow into rivers during storm. The project uses large holding tunnels for sewage and stormwater and green infrastructure like permeable pavements.
And it will increase property values for homeowners, create local jobs, and help clean up the Chesapeake Bay.
In Bangladesh, the government has established a public-private institution supporting private sector operators to install 4 million solar home systems since 2003. As of 2017, these systems have saved rural households $411 million and created 115,000 jobs.
One private operator alone trained 3,000 women to support sales and maintenance of solar home systems.
There is no silver bullet, but the solutions are largely amongst us.
Change isn't easy. As we invest in the future, we must also manage to transition for the people who have helped power our lives in the past. But change is worth it.
But change is worth it.
But change is worth it. The world is at a crossroads. The wrong path leads to more deadly air pollution, water scarcity, and not enough food.
The right path means cities where we can move, breathe, and be productive.
Ecosystems that are more productive and resilient.
Infrastructure that is sustainable and stronger communities.
This isn't just about avoiding a future we don't want.
It's about creating the future we do want.